I want to show you guys right here. I'm actually in high gear. And I mean, I can tell it lunges a little more, and you get a little stutter there, but watch the slow crawl of this in high. It's pretty dang good. And here's the real kicker. Watch this, hold. I'm off the throttle right now, completely. Look at the hold on that. I'm not touching the throttle. Normally when you kick these things in high, they're not holding at all. I mean, you can totally crawl in high, look at that. Completely off the throttle again. I mean, you're gonna get that stutter and shake. You're in high gear, but look at that. I mean, it's still gonna do it. Down, boy. What's up, guys? Matt here, coming at you with a quick look at my CR18P Evo that I put the Furitek Cedar motor into. I teased this a while back, and I just thought I would kind of go over it real quick. So this is something Furitek's actually working on for the Evo. I'm sure they'll have their own kit where it just makes this a breeze to install, but I wanted to make it work myself, just because I like doing weird stuff like that. So I knew this motor with this mount should bolt straight up to this transmission. And so I just got started on it. And it turns out that the pinion from the Evo here and the TRX4M are the exact same down to the tooth count. So you bolt this thing straight in and the mesh is set, it's perfect, runs great. So I have mine running off of a Lizard Pro. One thing I can advise you is to make sure in the app that your Lizard Pro is updated and you have it set to run the Cedar, because if it's set up to run like an outrunner motor, this thing will be cooking just sitting here. Mine, I hooked all this up, and I actually even had it set on Inrunner, which is one of their other Inrunner motors that we had for like the monster trucks and stuff, I think, a while back. But it was just sitting here getting hot, and I'm like, what is going on? It took me a little while, and I was like, I guess I'll go check the app. And so I switched it. Well, I had to update this, and then it had Cedar on there, so I switched it to the Cedar. Temps were good. For some reason, I turned this off, did some stuff, turned it back on, hooked it up. It was getting hot again. I'm like, what is the problem? But this it didn't save for whatever reason. So I went back in, changed it. It's saved now. I turned it off on. It's good. And no heat issues now whatsoever. But you can see I've kind of messed with this thing a little bit. These shocks, they're going to go. I just haven't had time to build new shocks for it. So I kind of moved these to see if it helped. I took the springs off just so they would actually move a little. I haven't drove it like it is. It probably still sucks. But I'm going to build some shocks for it at some point. I got rid of this battery tray because I'm going to ditch this ugly body, or at least cut it up at some point. But it does look pretty good with these wheels. I gotta say, I really like those wheels on there. And you can tell I robbed them off of this. But these are the RC four-wheel drive wheels. I'll link them in the description. They're pricey, but man, they look good. And these are the stock hubcaps, actually, from the stock wheels that were on these. So those actually work over top of the wheel nuts. These come with wheel caps, hubcaps for the FCX24, but they only fit the FCX24. So anyways, that's what that is. If anybody wants to know, I'm running, Tony from CCXRC has those pine tree printed foams. And honestly, that's like the only printed foam I run anymore for the most part, unless they're just already in something and I don't even remember. Because you don't have to have any certain direction for those things. And they seem to work very well in these scramblers. And I don't have to worry about which way they're running, mounted, whatever. That drives me nuts. So these, yes, I know my tires are backwards. I like them that way. So if you're that guy, that's why they're backwards. But yeah, everything went together really well. The stock servo here has this adapter on it, on the stock truck, that adapts it to this to run with the stock ESC. This, I guess, could be useful on a FCX if we were leaving the stock setup, but I unplugged it so that I had a normal plug here, shift on this, and I had to adjust my endpoint a little bit for that. To do that with this thing, you have to, it's a little odd, you have to turn this to full left, hold your trigger down, and then turn this thing on and hold it for 7 seconds. It'll beep, tap it again, it starts flashing. That puts you in the menu mode. Once you're in that menu mode, you'll tap this button and see it comes on. You'll see it light up and you heard the servo move. Now your dual rate here, your steering dual rate, will adjust the endpoints on that, and you can see it's kind of reset a little. I don't know if you can see that moving. See that move? So you don't want to just leave that maxed out where it's pulling on that. See how it's pulling on the mount? Because that's going to burn your servo up. It's putting constant pressure on it. So we want that where it shifts all the way back, and then it's got just a little bit of slack there. That should be about right. So now you can see it barely moves. But that's how you set the endpoint here. And then when you're done, tap that, it takes you back out of it. And now one thing you will have to check when you go back out of that, your steering won't be getting full turn because you've dialed this down. So you have to turn this back up now so that you get all of your steering. So when you adjust that endpoint here, just know when you come back out of it, you're not going to have very much steering if you've turned that down. See, that will cut out your steering completely if you turn that all the way down. I crank it all the way up on this thing, so just check that. But anyways, that's how I set that up. Really like this little thing, and these micro receivers are great. Haven't had any issues with it. So let's go run this thing, check it out, see how it performs. Like I said, I know the shocks, I need new shocks for sure. I have this, I bought a long time ago for one of the rock vans from RC All-Wheel Drive. Shout out to them since they don't really talk to me anymore. I bought these because I do like some of your stuff, but they send me like random stuff and I didn't use it, and now I think they're mad at me. But these should be really good. This is the inner and outer brass covers for the front, and that will add a little bit of weight up front. This thing doesn't need much, I don't think. I mean, it kind of depends what I do with the body, but I try to prop it up like that and it won't even, like, it falls back down. It's got a really good setup to the weight. But I did make this tray here. It took me about 2 minutes. I cut a piece of this plastic from Amazon. I keep this stuff around. I'll link it in the description if I can find it. Cut a piece of it, heated it a little bit, bent it, popped some holes in it, and screwed it in. It works. You can see there, clears just a little bit. I could probably trim a little bit more off of that, but that works. I don't know that I'm probably going to be switching this body at some point, but we'll see. This thing sits pretty jacked up. I may see if I can lower these body posts a little. I just didn't want to get into too much rubbing, but now that I dropped the shocks, we've got more clearance. Maybe I could lower the body a tad bit. So I'm going to do that real quick, then we'll go run this. So these things crawl really good out of the box, but I mean, this brushless just takes it to an insane level. Curious to see how it runs on these wheels and tires. Really not any weight added to these. I do have a little thin strip of golf weights in the front wheels, I think, of these. If you don't know what the golf weights are, then you should watch the channel more. That's where a little more weight probably get us a little better grab on the tires there. It is insanely windy out here, so I have a mic with a dead cat on. I'm sorry if it's not working. My reverse seems a little jumpy. I may have to adjust the throttle curve in the app. Definitely need some weight in the rear, apparently. So all in all, the CR18P Evo runs amazing on the Cedar, and I can't wait for Furitek to offer this motor by itself, hopefully with this adapter, you know, for the TRX4M, because it fits directly into the CR18P, so they can basically just add that to their listing. I was very impressed with it. A little later I show a clip where I'm running in high gear crawling, and it crawls pretty dang good even in high, and the hold on it is really good. So the gearing in this truck works very well with this motor. And a lot of people have asked me how this Cedar motor would run on the Lizard Pro or whatever, and you can see in this truck here I've got a Lizard Pro, and they have an update that gives you basically a setting for the Cedar, and this thing runs great on it. I mean, really didn't have to do any adjustments to throttle curve, drag brake, nothing. I did 0 adjustments, and this thing runs perfect. And that's just kind of what I'm getting at with the ease of the Furitek ESCs. You know, I caught a little hate for complaining about the dinky in my last video, and it's not that it's a bad ESC or I was trying to bash that thing at all, but if I have to spend days trying to get that thing lined out and I can throw this in here and it be good, like, I'm just going to go that way, and that's all there is to it. And you know, I'm transparent when I have issues. I say what I say. I'm not anybody's puppet, and I really don't care what anybody thinks. So it is what it is, and you know, it's kind of blackballed me from a lot of these companies, but I really don't care what these companies care, or if they're going to stop sending me stuff or whatever. I started this channel buying every single thing that I reviewed, and I'll continue to do it because I'm just going to put the truth out there for you guys. So I'm going to leave you with some running. I'm going to shut up because somebody's going to hate on whatever I say. So I appreciate you guys that stick around. Peace. That's totally what I meant to do. If I just backed up a little more, I would have got that easy. There we go. Are you serious right now? See, it did level out a little bit there. When I worked the steering, I was able to settle it back around. The suspension wouldn't do that at all before because those springs are so bad. I don't know if you can even hear anything I'm saying. It's like 120 mile an hour wind out here. It's stupid. And then I blew it. Oh well. See if we can go down this. I definitely need a little weight in the rear. I'm gonna add those portal covers probably all the way around, but this is not driving too bad for being all jacked up. The body's sitting way higher than I would normally run. Plus I'm gonna probably completely change the body or shave all kinds of stuff off of this one. I just don't really think it looks that good anyway, so it's not like I'm gonna keep it for a scale look. It's not bad for a Lexan body, I guess. Probably didn't even have half of that in the shot. I'm using a selfie stick to film with today. It's just much easier on my back. You can see that easing down that section is much easier with the brushless. You can go so slow, but then you have the wheel speed there when you need it. This is just running a 2S. Of course, I didn't gun that quick enough. Driving something like this out here really makes you appreciate what like that can do, or some of the other crazy rigs, because you really realize that some of these lines are tougher than they look most of the time. But this thing's performing pretty well. I just love that climb right there. It's so fun. That was nice. That's actually harder than it looks to get your rear tire to bite on that little nub right there. A lot harder than it looks. I wanted to show you guys right here. I'm actually in high gear. And I mean, I can tell it lunges a little more, but and you get a little stutter there, but watch the slow crawl of this in high. It's pretty dang good. And here's the real kicker. Watch this. Hold. I'm off the throttle right now completely. Look at the hold on that. I'm not touching the throttle. Normally when you kick these things in high, they're not holding at all. I mean, you can totally crawl in high. Look at that. Completely off the throttle again. I mean, you're going to get that stutter and shake. You're in high gear, but look at that. I mean, it's still going to do it. Let's see how it goes down over here. The hold's insane. Okay, I'm off the throttle. Off the throttle. Normally that would be rolling down there. I'm completely off right here. Bump it. Wow. It's pretty impressive. I'll probably flip and roll down this, but it's in high gear and it's holding like that. Look at that. Completely off of it. That's impressive, and that's actually pretty handy because in a spot like this where I know if I go down this slow, this thing's gonna flip. Oh, the wind's blowing it a little. Look at that. When in doubt, throttle out. Oh, I almost launched it into that. I don't think I'm gonna do that right now. I definitely need to build just an off-road course out here for nothing else, the monster trucks. Look at those scramblers and those freaking pine trees. Same thing here, like I can put it in high with no worry really that it's gonna just take off rolling. Usually you put them in high and they're just gone. This I can still ease down. Look at that. Still easing down this hill in high gear. You guys know, see, and I saved that, even though we smashed into the wheelbarrow.